Alright, what is going on? Hope you're having a great and wonderful day. Welcome back to JetEye Gaming Channel. My name is Jet, and today we're going to go over some Redis database maintenance. If you haven't done this already, it's going to help you tremendously when you have issues logging into your server. We'll also kind of teach you how to log into your Redis database while you're away. Outside of your home network or the network where your server is located. And then finally, we're going to give you some tips and pointers on how to get some people on your server and keep them there. In case, let's get started. Alright, so let's get started. The very first thing that you're going to need to do is download FastoRedis. All you have to do is search in Google for FastoRedis, and there it is, the very first link. Now, in order to download this, you are going to have to sign up. So if you haven't already, click sign up and create an account. Then all you gotta do is sign in. Okay, so once you get an account and are signed in, you can download the software right here. It's a 15-day free trial. We're using Windows. We're gonna want the Windows installer right here. And let's save that under downloads. There we go. Windows might tell you don't run it, but we're gonna run it anyways. All right, installation, agree. I usually put my stuff in my E drive. Now we're gonna put in our D drive. There we go. FastoRedis. After you've run FastoRedis, it's gonna ask you to sign in with your account. Now, when you get in here, the very first thing you're gonna see is this welcome screen. What you're gonna have to do is connect and add your server. This is my local database server for what I'm using right now. But before you can get into your Redis server is you're gonna have to have it started up. So let's go into our folder here and start up our Redis server that we've been using. It's under Atlas server, Atlas tools, Redis database, and you're gonna want to run the startup. There, port 60739. Okay, so we're dealing with Redis database. Our connection, you can name it whatever you want. Localhost, this is going to be your private IP of your Redis database, and normally you don't put your Redis database out for everybody to access. So this is how you're gonna access it. Authentication, the default authentication is foobarred, and then save. Now load up whatever you want, and you're gonna see there are 11 keys here. You're gonna right click that, load contents of this database. Key count, all this doesn't matter. Pattern, that's gonna mean everything what the asterisk means. All right, so now you have all of these keys. Most of this stuff I'm not going to go over, but what I am going to go over is your server information. If you double click this is going to give you your grid, one of your grids. So remember how I told you to best use your ports to where you can know which grid you're looking at by the port. So if you come down here to game port, 57006 means that we're dealing with grid 00. And then if you went to this one here and load it up, it says 57016. That means you're dealing with grid 01. For the first column, that's all your A grids or 0 grids. They're going to be numbered with just 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and how many ever you have in the column. When you move on to the next column, which is B, you're gonna get a different set of numbers for your server ID. It's not 0123 anymore. It's like 65536 and 65537 is what we have for this particular server. This is just the cluster information. So now, let's say you were traveling in between a grid and got caught in a restart and you cannot log in. You're getting an error which says unable to query server for invite. That error normally means either the server cannot be reached or there's a corruption in your character's information on that server. So what you'll have to do is find your information. If you're the only person playing, it's easy. Just go to player server information and double click that one player right there. Now you're gonna look at current server ID and first home server. Now, the default way and the fastest way to get yourself out of that situation where you cannot log in and you're getting that unable to query server for invite, you need to move your character from current server to home server, and that will fix it. Now, if you have larger grids, the best thing to do is figure out where the person's base is, or where your base is, or you're doing for yourself. Which grid is it in? Let's say your base is in grid 10, then you'd have to come up here and find 10. So you'll find it by the game port. If you follow my naming scheme, 10, right? 5710 means it's grid 10. You'll have to copy this right here, the server ID, which you can also see at the back end of where it says cluster. You copy that, then bring it back down here to player server info and paste it where it says current server ID. That will move you back to that grid. Now, when you get the unable to query server, that means your character in that particular grid is corrupted. No matter what you do, you're going to get that error, unable to query server for invite. What you're gonna have to do is load back in to your base or whichever area, load into one of the beds, and then sail a boat back to get to your character. Now, sometimes it'll resync to the other character and you'll be good. Sometimes it won't, because the character data is too corrupted and it will overwrite what's there. Unfortunately, of course, this is an early access game. These are the problems that you're gonna have to deal with. Now, if you're running an open server for other people to join, and when they have these issues, you are gonna have to be able to figure out who's on your server, how to move them. Two things. Easiest way is of course to get the person to give you their Steam 64 ID, which is this long number right here. And since I double clicked it, that cleared it out. That's okay, we're not gonna save it. We'll just double click something else, come back in. I didn't realize double clicking it meant deleting it. Yeah, okay. Make sure you don't double click. All right, we'll double click back here. I think you're supposed to be able to copy this. Let's test it. We're gonna run a notepad here. Okay, yeah, easy. Just click over it and hit Control C, and then you can copy and paste. Now, back to what we were saying. If you have that person's Steam 64 ID, it's easy. Just copy that or get that information and find them under player server info Steam 64 ID, which will be the last one. Now, if you have a whole bunch of people and all you have is that person's character name, in-game character name, what you can do is to go into character data, which it looks like the character data is not available. So let me do this. Let me open the other server. Let me open my live server. I can't edit any of this information, of course, because if I do, I may mess something up. Okay, so I have 728-ish keys. Drop it down. So this is what we were looking for: player info. If you know that person's player name, you're gonna have to go in here and click into each of these and find their player name. Now with FastoRedis, the information within each key is not organized. So here, number 3 is player name, but if you go here, player name's not here. You're just gonna have to scroll down and see at the bottom that is the player name. So if you have the person's in-game player name, you can come in here, find the player's information within one of these numbers. This is the player ID within the game. You're gonna have to take that number and go up to player ID data, right? So let's take Beaky Sidebottom. His number is 150676220. 150676220. Double click that, and you have their Steam64 ID. And you can take that Steam64 ID. We're gonna get the last 4 here, 35463, and go into player server info. Expand this a little bit. We're looking for 35463, or it's there, so you can just look for that. 35463, which is right here. Double click that and do exactly what we did the other way. Just make sure to move them from current server to either their first home server, or the server where their base is. Now, if the error happens at the person's base, then you're gonna have to move them to first home server ID. What happens when you do that sometimes is, if they've never visited that first home server ID after they left, their character will get rolled back and they will lose experience points, levels, etc. You want to get where was the last time they spawned on a bed. That's not a boat. So if the last time they spawned on a bed that's a boat, would probably be the boat that's missing out in the middle of the water somewhere, where they're gonna have to sail back over and get the boat. You want the place where they spawned in, the bed that they spawned in on land, and that will guarantee them the ability to spawn back in. Remember, this applies to unable to query server for invite. And the other error that you may get is you get the host timeout error, which is normal. If the host timeout error happens, that means you logged out on one grid, but somebody moved your boat to another grid. You logged out on a boat on one grid and somebody moved that boat to another grid. So your game connected to that server thinking that your character's there, but then it goes back into your Redis database and finds out, no, your character isn't here, it's over there in another grid. So when it moves you, it times you out of the current server. That's where you get the host timeout error, or host timeout pending. Now, if that's your only error and the game is frozen, that means you're good, you're logging in. However, if you get that error and it's followed by a network error, that means your character could be corrupted, and you're gonna have to follow these steps to get that character moved out of that grid. All right, so picking up what I'm putting down. If you mess with some of this information, putting some wrong data or messing up some of the information, you're gonna corrupt your server. You go in here and play with the cluster information and mess up any of these numbers where they're located, you're going to mess up your server, at least for that grid that you messed with. So be careful when you go through here. Especially, you saw what I did when I double clicked the player ID, it disappeared. What that does is, if you hit save, then that character will be removed from that player. So when the player logs in with their Steam 64 ID, or when they log into Steam, log into the game, they're gonna have to create a brand new character because their Steam ID is not associated with a player ID. So that's about all you need to do with editing the Redis server. There's other ways to do it. As for me personally, I went ahead and used a program called KeyLord. Now, FastoRedis, you can buy the another version or get the full version of FastoRedis. I don't remember how much this is, but KeyLord, I use this one because it sorts everything here. What I liked about FastoRedis, as you can see, it's sorted in different folders. That's fine, but for this, it sorts my keys in numerical order for most of these things. And then when you click in here, it's easier for me to read. Let's click it once, go in here, and if you double click, it pops up. And when you edit the data in here and click OK, OK is your save button. So I believe KeyLord has a 15-day trial as well, and it works for other databases other than Redis. So I think for me it was a good investment. Yours, your mileage may vary. Now, the free way to access your Redis is to download the command line, Redis command line, which I'm not very good at. The only thing I know how to do in there is to wipe your database, and so you don't want that information. If you wipe your servers, you're gonna want to wipe your database. You can probably Google that or ask me in my Discord channel down below how to do that. All right, so the next thing that we're gonna talk about is what's called an SSH tunnel. Remember earlier in this video, I told you that you normally want your Redis server in a closed environment so that people can't get into it and do stuff to it. Now, that's all fine and dandy when you're running your Redis server within the same private network as your server, or if you run it on the server itself. So it's easy. All you do is run Redis within the server, and then you can administer it within your network. Now, here comes the part where if you're a server administrator for a lot of people playing on your server, that's going to mean if you go on vacation, if you go and do things outside of your house, your location where your server is, you're not going to be able to get in to your Redis server. The easy way to remedy that is to open your port 6379 and port forward that. But that's not the best thing to do, because like I said, now you're opening your database server to outside interference, and people can get into it, especially if your password for that server is still foobarred. Foobarred is the default password for Redis. The way you could do it is to change maybe that password, but that password is not going to be transmitted encrypted. It's going to be transmitted in clear, so anybody can pick up that information who's on the internet. The best thing to do is if you're away and you have other means of connecting is to do an SSH server. So let me walk you through that. First, if you're using Windows 10, we haven't touched Linux yet. Linux is a bit easier for me at least, but we can do the Windows 10 version. Okay, in order to install SSH server on your Windows system, you're gonna have to search for Windows 10 1809, which is the latest and greatest, and find this open SSH on Windows 10 1803 or higher. That should be fine. We're gonna go in here and install SSH services using the GUI. So in order to do that, you're gonna have to start Go to setting right here. Oh, that was already open. Just close that. Close that. All right. Click here. Manage optional features. You're gonna go through here and add a feature. Now, I've already added the feature, so you'll see which feature that I added here. It's called Open SSH Server. So if you click add a feature, it'll just pop over and you will see Open SSH here if you haven't added it already. But once you've added Open SSH here, we can move on to the next step. Hit install or download a couple things and you should be good to go. Adding Open SSH Server with the PowerShell, you can do it with PowerShell if you want to. You'll just have to copy this and install it with PowerShell. Now, this is going to go over some stuff for server like WSUS and things like that. We're not going to need that because we're installing it on, well, if you have a server operating system, you're going to have to pay attention to that. I don't have a server operating system, and therefore I'm going to show you the way we're doing it on a regular system. You don't need the administrator template. Now, we need to activate the SSH server. What you're going to need to do is run this right here in PowerShell. So let's start PowerShell, regular PowerShell. Now I want to run it as administrator. Right? We're going to copy this. And paste it here. Startup type automatic. Done. And copy this. Paste it here. Startup type automatic. Then we'll do this. Start services SHD. And start services SSHD agent. Everything should be started up now. We should be able to log into our local host. 22. And you're gonna see this public security alert. So when you install the service of SSHD, you will automatically generate a certificate. This is just showing you that your certificate has not been registered and has not been approved for access from this computer. All you gotta do is click yes. And then the next time that you connect to localhost, it's not going to ask you again. Now, all you have to do here is use the username and password that you would to log into your computer. Now, some of you may use Microsoft login. So what you're going to have to do in order to get your username is to go into C, users, and there it is. That is our username to log in. And then, of course, your password. And there. You're now in. All right, so what we're going to use is one of my live servers, but we use a separate Redis database. So for me, I'm going to have to use 6380 as my Redis port. For you, if you follow along in the tutorials previously, you can continue to use 6379. Again, let's recap a little bit. We're going to close this off and load our test. Okay, this is going to be your public IP. If you're accessing from outside, make sure port 22 is forwarded, and then within tunnels you have 6379 and 127.0.0.1 6379 or localhost 6379. Again, I'm using 6380 because I already have a server there. We're gonna launch that, and now when you see the screen that says desktop blah blah blah, you're logged in to your SSH tunnel. Now, within the server that we're going to be using, as you can see here, 6380 is already being forwarded. It's probably hard to read for you. Let me go ahead and put this on not 100%. There we go. That should be easier to read. It says 6380 is the connections that we're going to use. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to open another session. I'm opening this session in order to load up Linux. This is a Linux box. So what we're going to do is we're going to log into that Redis server from a Linux box. It's easy if you have Redis server installed on that box. So we're going to do Redis CLI P or H, which is the IP address, and then the port. We're logged into there. Now we're gonna have to authenticate as FooBard, and we're fully logged in. Now what I'm gonna type is monitor, and that's just gonna sit there. It doesn't show me any prompt to type in anymore. What we're gonna do is minimize this, move that over in the corner, and then go into your Atlas server. Make sure in Atlas server, because yours is fine, it should have 6379 there. I had to change all mine to 6380. We're gonna back up, and then we're gonna launch one server. And let's see what happens here. Alright, so now that we've got our information, it is working. As you can see, we're gonna scroll up a little bit. It's gonna subscribe to Travel Global, Tribe Global, subscribe to Server Message, subscribe general global chat, whatever, and get the admin Steam IDs, and get all of this information here, and all that is gonna be pulled from database. There it goes. That is how to create an SSH tunnel in order to work with your Redis server. Now, we're not going to be running a server on your laptop or machine that's outside. What happens now is that you're connected to your, you can connect to your database with that same tunnel, right? So right now we have the SSH tunnel going into that server. You can do this same thing with let's go ahead and use FastoRedis. Okay. Once the server, or once the program is loaded, all we gotta do is create another connection. This is our remote connection. Alright, again, we're still gonna use localhost, but we're gonna change this to 80. Our same authentication, FooBard. Save it. And when we do that, boom, we've connected. Now, what you can see is FastoRedis, in order to get information from Redis server, is going to have to do commands. So you load this database, boom, it's going to show this information. These are what you can actually type into Redis CLI after it's connected to your Redis database. Only 3 things here: a cluster, a log. No one's logged into this server yet because we're using a database that's fresh and brand new. Nobody's touched that database yet. So there we go. That is how do you get into your database from outside without exposing your database itself to the outside. This is a safer method because when you type in username and password in an SSH session, you send that information over encrypted tunnel. So that is the reason why when you first log into your SSH server for the very first time, you will get that error that says this is untrusted certificate. Do you want to proceed? Once you proceed, it now becomes a trusted certificate, and that certificate is what's being used to pass your username and password when you log into your server. Okay, so now that we've gone over all that information, let's talk about how do you keep people playing on your server. The very first thing is you've got to treat it kind of like a customer support. You have to make your players feel like they have a voice within your server. When you make changes, you want to make sure that they that you give everybody a chance to voice their opinion. You don't go in there and just make changes off a whim just because you can. Probably the very first thing I should have talked about is don't abuse your admin powers. If you go in there and then just spawning stuff in for yourself, playing around in God mode, and doing stuff within the server, all without consulting on the people and taking advantage of your admin powers, you're gonna lose people very quickly. That's one of the biggest complaints why people don't want to play on private servers, is admins abusing their power. Next thing is admins getting a power trip. You have all these powers. You can spawn whatever you want. You can kick people off. You can ban people all you want. But if you're really wanting to create a community, then you're gonna have to talk to your community, get feedback from your community, and make sure you're not taking advantage of your community. I mean, if you're just want to be an asshole, get people on your server and troll them the entire time, then that's what you do. That's nothing anybody can control. But you're not going to get people on your server anymore, because I mean, like I said, community is a big thing. Once you have an established community, you have to know that some people play at different times, and there may be issues that only you can resolve, but you can't be up and around 24/7. You've got to find somebody that you can trust to be able to restart your servers, to be able to move people using FastoRedis, to be able to resolve issues. And then you've got to be able to use your admin powers to help people instead of taking advantage of them. Those are the key things. I know it's very enticing to go in there and just show everybody, yeah, I'm Superman on the server, but that's not going to get you very many players. Talk to streamers on Twitch, on YouTube, on platforms that people are actually playing Atlas, people are actually watching Atlas. You talk to those streamers and you don't go in there and spam, tell them, hey, I got a new server, check it out. Don't go in people's Twitch chat and tell them, hey, the very first thing you say is, I got a server, you want to play on it? That's gonna turn a lot of people off. You have to build rapport. Rapport means that you talk to them, you get them to kind of trust you, and genuinely get them to trust you, get them to talk to you, and you talk to them, and you build some kind of relationship with them. And then at some point in your conversation, you can always bring up, hey, if you want to, I have a server. Usually what I do is, when I go talk to streamers, is I will tell them, okay, get into a conversation, and then find some point in that conversation where it's convenient to bring up that, hey, I run a server, but not post all of the information as soon as you find it convenient. Just tell them, I got a server. If you want to play on it, I will send you information in private chat. And everyone that I've done this with, that I've sent it through private chat, they've thanked me for being discreet, for not advertising on their channel. You're gonna find people that don't care if you advertise on that channel, but those kind of people are very far and few in between. So it's best to err on the side of caution. Make sure that that person doesn't mind you advertising your channel or advertising your server. This goes for any server that you want to run, be it Atlas, Conan, or Arc. And I think for now, this is going to wrap up everything I have on Atlas. We've shown you from the very beginning how to start a server with minimum settings, shown you how to do INI settings. Although there are some new INI settings from the new mega patch that they released this month, probably like 2-3 weeks ago. If you need some more information on that, just hop into Discord and ask me a question, or you can do some research yourself and find out. You were just I believe it was Jat, one of the main community manager, that posted the tweet about here are the new settings for INI files. It would have been nice if they would have put original settings of the INI files and give us a template of what can and can't be used from Arc. That would have been nice, but you know, they're only giving us the new stuff. Yeah, that's about covers it. That is all the information I've got for Atlas now. If there is any more information that I need to share, we'll share it within the Discord, and we'll start moving on to other servers soon. Now, if I have, like, they make a big change or something, we'll throw that out there and make a new video on it. But for now, if you have any further questions about hosting Atlas server, don't hesitate to hit me up on Discord. That's where I'm very active. I use Discord a lot, especially for when issues happen on the server that I run. People will post on the server reporting, and I'll go in there and correct a few things if need be. And I have also other people assisting me. So as of right now, I'm stationed in Thailand. I'm about 11 to 12 hours apart from my buddy who's in the States, who's also running the other half of our server. So we have like coverage almost 24/7. You know, both of us have a full-time job, so sometimes it pulls us away. But anyway, I do stream on twitch.tv. Link will be in the description to twitch.tv/ThaiJetEye. I have a Discord for the same Discord. You'll find different channels. I also have a text channel in there that puts everything in Thai. So if you are a Thai speaking person, which I'm probably not gonna have any Thai speaking people this far in the video, but I do speak Thai, and I can assist in that way. But I can't read Thai. I could probably read at an elementary level. I grew up in the States. That's why I don't have a like Thai English accent. But anyways, appreciate you all for coming by. If you enjoyed this series, don't forget to hit the thumbs up button. And don't forget to subscribe as well, because we will be moving on to bigger and better things and other servers. In any case, hope you all have a great one for the rest of your day. Thanks for coming by. We'll catch you all next time. Peace.